You fought 29 times, you've lost once, 28 and 1. You're on a 16-fight win streak that ties Anderson Silva for the longest in the history of the UFC. You hold world titles in 2 different weight classes, the 11th fighter ever to pull it off. And the one time you lost, you were unconscious before you hit the floor. 1 minute, 46 seconds. On paper, you are flawless. So why does half the planet call you boring? Why do they say you're overrated, a real GOAT, or just Khabib's shadow, a man who was never truly tested? How good is Islam Makhachev actually? Because the real answer is messier and better than either side will admit. You grow up in Makhachev in Dagestan, a sliver of mountains on the edge of Russia, where wrestling isn't a hobby, it's how boys are raised. Welcome, kid. You start in freestyle, then combat sambo, the brutal Soviet mix of judo and strikes, and you're not just good. In 2016, you'll win a World Combat Sambo title, beating your man in the final 7-0. But before any of that, 2 things define you. The first is a heart condition found when you're young, serious enough to need a medical procedure. The most untouchable grappler of your generation and your own heart is the first opponent to ever bench you. The second thing is a name that isn't yours. Because the coach who takes you in, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, has a son your age. You train beside him, bleed beside him, for 20 years. His name is Khabib. And from the day the world meets you, you won't be Islam, you'll be the other Dagestani. Khabib's friend, Khabib's project, the quiet man in Khabib's corner. The shadow is your home address before you ever throw a punch. October 3rd, 2015, Houston, UFC 192. It's only your second fight in the company, and you walk in feeling bulletproof, because so far you are. Across from you is a Brazilian named Adriano Martins, and this is the clip your highlight reels quietly bury. You get loose, you drop your hands, he turns the lights off. 1 minute, 46 seconds. You're on the canvas before your brain catches up. There's even an argument the stoppage came early, but it doesn't matter because the result reads the same way it'll read for the next 11 years. Knockout, round 1. Your only loss. To this day, in 2026, Adriano Martins is the only human being on Earth who has ever beaten you. And here's the strange gift of getting humbled this early. The reckless kid who fights with his chin up dies in Houston. What stands up off that mat is colder, more patient, almost impossible to hit. But the man who's supposed to watch you rebuild from this is running out of time. Go back to that gym in Dagestan. The man who runs it, Abdulmanap, isn't just a coach. He's an honored coach of Russia who builds 18 world champions with his bare hands. And to you, he's something closer to a second father. He's the one who looked at the kid with the bad heart and the borrowed name and decided you would be a champion. So you go to work proving him right. You win and win and win. Tibau Dober, a young Arman Tsarukyan in a war, quietly stacking bodies while the entire world watches Khabib. You are becoming, by the UFC's own numbers, the hardest man to hit in the history of the sport. And then comes the call. July 3rd, 2020. Abdulmanap is dead, COVID complication, 57 years old. The architect of everything you are, gone. Months later, Khabib walks away undefeated and retires too. The man who promised you'd be a champion will never get to see it. You're left holding a plan, and the man who wrote it is in the ground. But then one day, you get the chance to finish it for him. October 22nd, 2022, Abu Dhabi, UFC 280. This is the turning point of your whole life, so hold on to it. The lightweight title is vacant, and standing across from you is Charles Oliveira, the most prolific submission artist in UFC history, on an 11-fight win streak. This is supposed to be the night you finally get exposed. It lasts a little over a round. You crack Oliveira with a right hand, climb onto his back, slide your forearm under his chin, and squeeze. Arm triangle, round 2, the all-time submission king taps to a submission. You are to a camera. You hand it to Khabib, standing in your corner, and you lift it for a man who isn't there. Abdulmanap, the boy with the bad heart and the borrowed name, just finished his father's plan. The shadow doesn't own you anymore, right? Wrong, because you're about to learn the cruelest joke in this entire sport. Here's the joke. You can be the best man alive and still be invisible. You're the lightweight champion of the world, and the business shrugs. You're not a pay-per-view star. Fans call your fights boring before you've even walked out. The boss himself, Dana White, won't say your name when he talks about the best fighter alive. For over a year, he keeps that crown reserved for John Jones instead, and opponents keep falling out on you. 2 años, Dariush, So you just beat whoever they send in their place. The most dangerous man in the division, booked and treated like the opening act. So you do the only thing you've ever known how to do. You keep winning until they physically cannot look away. And the one night they finally hand you a genuine superstar, it becomes the most frustrating night of your career. February 2023. Perth, Australia, UFC 284. The featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, ranked the #1 pound-for-pound fighter alive, climbs an entire division to take your belt, #1 against #2. And for the first time, somebody makes you bleed for it. Volkanovski lands 70 significant strikes, more than your previous 6 opponents combined. In the 5th and final round, he catches you with a right hand and drops you. You, the hardest man in the sport to hit, are flat on your back with the most dangerous striker you've ever faced on top of you. You survive. The judges give it to you, 48-47, twice. You retain, and the world loses its mind. Joe Rogan says it on his own show. In his eyes, you lost that fight. Suddenly, every critic has their proof. Lucky, protected, the shadow champion who finally met a real man and got handed a decision. It's the worst thing anyone has ever said about you. So 8 months later, you answer it in the most violent way a human being can. October 21st, 2023, Abu Dhabi, UFC 294. It was never even supposed to be Volkanovski. You were booked to rematch Oliveira, but he cuts himself in camp and pulls out 11 days before the fight. So Volkanovski, the man half the planet thinks beat you, raises his hand and takes the rematch on 11 days' notice. No camp, just pride, and you end the argument in the first round. You feint, you load up, and you throw a head kick that lands flush on the jaw of one of the greatest featherweights who ever lived. He folds, you follow him down, and the referee dives in at 3 minutes, 6 seconds. Out cold. They called you lucky. They called you boring. They said you could never finish anyone good. Then you head kicked the #1 fighter on earth into the next time zone, on his terms, in the first round. 2-0 against Volkanovski, one of them a knockout for the age. The knife the whole world was holding, you just took it and put it away. Now the receipts come fast. June 1st, 2024, Newark, UFC 302. Dustin Poirier, a lightweight legend, finally gives you the war nobody else could. He stuffs your takedowns, opens your face with elbows, busts your nose, makes you ugly for the first time as champion. So in the 5th round, you change the math, cinch a Darce choke, and put him to sleep at 2 minutes, 42 seconds. Then January 2025, UFC 311. Your opponent pulls out the day before, a man named Renato Moicano takes the title fight on 1 day's notice, and you choke him too, round 1. Because of course you do. That's your 4th defense of the lightweight belt. And no lightweight in the history of the UFC had ever defended it that many times. You break a record you used to share with BJ Penn, with Benson Henderson, and with Khabib himself. Most lightweight title defenses ever. Most lightweight title fight wins ever. You are the name they chase now, and the man who spent over a year refusing to admit it is about to break. Here's what happens when you fight every single man they put in front of you on any notice at all. The doubters finally run out of excuses. You took Volkanovski on 11 days. You took Moicano on 1. You have never ducked a soul in your life. And the night you set that record, the man who spent over a year refusing to say your name cracks. Dana White gives it to you right there. Pound for pound, the best fighter in the world, a champion who fights anybody, who stays active, who shows up. The boss who treated you like an opening act just put the crown on your head with his own hands. The overlooked man finally got his respect. And then you decided respect at one weight class wasn't nearly enough. In May 2025, you do something that sounds insane. You give the belt back. You vacate the most defended lightweight title in history voluntarily to go hunt a second one in a heavier division where the men are bigger and built to bully you. November 15th, 2025, Madison Square Garden, New York, UFC 322. Across from you is Jack Della Maddalena, the welterweight champion, and you do to him exactly what you've done to everyone. Only now against a man 15 pounds bigger. You take him down and you bury him. More than 19 minutes of control time, 123 significant strikes to his 32, a shutout on all 3 scorecards. You are the welterweight champion of the world, the 11th fighter ever to win titles in 2 divisions, and your 16th straight win, tying Anderson Silva for the longest streak the sport has ever seen. And the twist? You'll say afterward that going up actually made it easier. No death march weight cut, eat what you want. You walked up a weight class and conquered it, and they still called it boring. So, how good is Islam Makhachev actually? Let's be honest about the case against you because it's real. The fights that end in clinics instead of fireworks. The Volkanovski decision Joe Rogan thought you lost. Ilia Topuria, the man hunting your throne, posting that you're the most boring thing in this game. Even after New York, the headlines said you were never seriously tested. The doubt has followed you your entire life. But here's what the doubt can't touch. 28-1. A streak tying Anderson Silva. Champion on 2 mountains. The most lightweight title defenses in history. The hardest man to hit the sport has ever measured. And clean finishes of Oliveira, Poirier, and a head kick knockout of Volkanovski. 3 of the best fighters of the era. Even Dana White, who spent over a year refusing to crown you, finally landed here. Not the most exciting champion you'll ever see, but complete dominance. A man headed straight for the GOAT conversation. And that's the truth both sides keep missing. They call you boring because you're so good, you make great fighters look ordinary, and a massacre doesn't trend. Boring isn't a flaw in your game, it's the price of having too much of it. So how good are you? One of the most dominant champions this sport has ever produced, whose only real crime is winning too easily for the people who wanted a war. And your story isn't finished. August 15th, 2026, Philadelphia, UFC 330. You're scheduled to defend that welterweight crown against Ian Machado Gary. 17-1, the next man certain he's the one to finally crack you. Win, and that streak becomes 17. And Anderson Silva's record stops being shared. It becomes yours, and yours alone. So if you want the real story behind the fighters, the highlight reels won't show you. The cost, the controversy, the truth nobody else covers. Don't scroll away just yet, because you just spent 15 minutes inside the most untouchable man in the sport, the one nobody can lay a finger on. Now look at the video on your screen and meet his exact opposite, the man who turns whoever stands across from him into a crime scene. Why it sucks to fight. Justin Gaethje, the damage Makhachev never takes, Gaethje hands out for a living. If this one pulled you in, that one will make you wince. Don't move on, just tap it. This is Combat Controversy.